The market opens in exactly 4 minutes. But you've been here since 5:47 a.m. Before you are 3 monitors glowing with blue light, a cup of coffee that has gone ice cold, and a stack of pitch books that likely no one will ever touch. You are 23 years old, carrying $94,000 in debt. The salary you once thought was massive suddenly looks ridiculous when you see the figure your CEO earned just today. So you bury yourself in the numbers. You format the financial models. You don't complain. At this level, survival means being able to digest a 10K report in 40 minutes. And then, one morning, you find it. A discrepancy hidden deep within a senior associate's model. A $2 million mistake. You stare at it. You quietly fix it in your own file. You tell no one, because this system doesn't reward honesty. It rewards discretion and being airtight. You are the foundation of this tower, the part no one sees, the part no one acknowledges. When the office is empty and the night has settled in, you look out at the glowing city below and, for the first time in your life, you realize you aren't thinking about your paycheck anymore. You're thinking about something much bigger. 2 years pass. Now you've been allowed into the boardroom. Not the main room, but the side room next to it, where the associates sit, waiting to provide support. But that is the transformation. You begin to understand what structure truly means. You are drafting terms for a $180 million senior credit facility. For the first time in your life, you sit across from a chief financial officer, CFO. You explain covenant breach scenarios without blinking, simply because you've run that model 40 times in the past week. At this level, preparation is your currency. The deal is a leveraged buyout, LBO, of a regional logistics company. It will inevitably lead to mass layoffs, but you don't include human cost in the model. No one asked you to. You only model EBITDA margins and debt serviceability. You present it clean and lean. The deal clears. You get your bonus. You don't think about the workers in Ohio who will lose their jobs. You rationalize it the same way everyone else here does. I'm just the one crunching the numbers. The second law you learn, proximity to capital is proximity to power. And the closer you get to power, the closer you get to the decisions you once swore you'd never make. Welcome to the first layer of the machine within the machine. Now you are managing people. Their output, their mistakes, and their sleepless hours are all on you. You have a team of 4 analysts and 2 associates under your command. You stop counting your own hours. Instead, you think in terms of deal flow. You close your first independent deal, a $620 million infrastructure acquisition financing. The managing director's name sits prominently on the cover page, while yours is buried on page 6. But in the boardroom, the clients look only at you. They question you. They wait for your confirmation when the numbers become too complex. This is the transformation at the VP level. You are no longer a supporter. You are a dealer. At this stage, you see the moral architecture of high finance more clearly than ever. To achieve a 22% IRR for the private equity fund, you must restructure the target company's pension obligations after the closing. You know exactly what that means for the retirees, but no one mentions it in the meeting. Not a single soul. The deal closes after 11 weeks. Your year-end bonus is $480,000. You wire $40,000 home to your parents and buy a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, the ultimate symbol of having arrived. You tell yourself that the pension fund was already insolvent anyway. You might even be right. The third rule at this level. You no longer ask if a deal is good. You only ask if it is executable. Because that is the only question left. Now, you are no longer the one executing the deals. You are the one originating them. Clients call you directly, not your managing director. Top-tier private equity funds coordinate their deal flows through you. 3 major deals closed in 4 years. You have never missed a deadline, never leaked a single piece of information. That discretion is worth more than intelligence. You manage an advisory portfolio worth $1.2 billion. When you sit in bidding sessions, you are selling vision. You are selling confidence. At this level, that is the real product. You begin to understand leverage in its purest form. Not financial leverage, but informational leverage. You know. You know which company is about to conduct a strategic review before it's ever announced. You know which sovereign wealth fund is quietly building a position before any disclosure is made. You don't trade on that information. That's not how things are done at this level. But knowing ahead of time makes you sharper, more decisive. And then you lose a deal. Not because the numbers were off, but because of a relationship you didn't have. A rival director belonged to the same private club as the chairman. That is why you lost a $2.8 billion mandate. A club membership card. You don't lose your cool. You don't make excuses. You join 2 elite clubs within that same month. At the director level, a deal is never just about the numbers on a screen. Now, the calls arrive earlier, sometimes before the markets even open, sometimes from anonymous numbers. You are managing 12 strategic client relationships. Every single name on that list is worth anywhere from $3 million to $40 million in annual fees. The truth is, you no longer work for the bank. You are the bank to these clients. It is a subtle but seismic distinction. You sit on the internal credit committee. A $900 million credit facility is showing a severely deteriorating balance sheet. You vote yes. Not because the numbers are clean, but because losing this relationship would cost 3 times the amount at risk. It is a political decision masquerading as a financial one. At this level, every major decision is exactly like that. You are in constant motion. Singapore, Zurich, Abu Dhabi, Dubai. You dine with ministers, not just politicians, but actual ministers of state. These aren't business dinners. This is relationship maintenance. Because the relationship is the business. Capital doesn't just flow toward profit. It flows toward political alignment, regulatory familiarity, and trust between the right people. The best deal in the world cannot be executed without that trust. Your identity has quietly restructured itself around this machine. You don't notice it. No one does. At least, not at first. There are 14 partners in this department. Now you are one of them. Your name isn't actually on the door, but it is embedded in every vital structure. You hold carried interest in the fund. You have skin in the game in every major deal the firm operates. When the fund succeeds, you succeed. When it fails, so do you. This completely changes the way you think. You stop optimizing for the annual bonus. You start optimizing for the 5-year fund cycle. You stop thinking in quarters. You start thinking in decades. You lead a $4.3 billion acquisition of European energy infrastructure. 3 months of negotiations, 4 jurisdictions, 2 competitors. You run the entire consortium, your fund, a co-investor from the Middle East, and a Canadian pension fund. The closing dinner takes place in London, a handshake in a room that doesn't appear on any floor plan. You structure the offshore holdings through a Luxembourg entity flowing into a Cayman feeder fund. The tax efficiency is substantial, and most importantly, the structure is entirely legal. 2 lawyers in Dublin and Singapore have vetted it from every angle. You sign your name without a moment's hesitation. This deal adds 180 basis points to the fund's IRR. Your own stake in this transaction will accrue to over $40 million. You start withdrawing from most social events. Not because you are too busy, but because the conversations there are no longer useful. Your social world has shrunk to include only those who control capital. Today there are two calls. One from a Gulf sovereign wealth fund with $7 billion looking to deploy. The second is from a finance minister. You take both calls from the same room on the 44th floor. A corner office, no trading screens, no Bloomberg terminal. Only glass, silence, and a phone connecting you to the people who can move entire asset classes. You are no longer in the market. The market is in you. Now you no longer carry a title, only a name. No job description underneath. Senior advisor, chairman emeritus, or a name tied to a family office. All are technically correct, but none are the truth. You are 71 years old, 47 years inside the machine. 3 central bank governors know you by your first name, not because of your position, but because information always flows both ways. Your board deploys capital across sovereign debt, infrastructure, and credit in 14 markets. Total assets under management exceed $90 billion. Only 4 people know the exact figure. You are one of them. You do not trade your positions. Trading is a reaction to the market. Positioning is what precedes the market. 2 years before anyone else noticed, you saw a currency block facing liquidity pressure. You structured accordingly, not to trigger the event, but to be on the right side when it hit. When it happened, your funds won big. The press called it prophetic risk management. But the price of this level is something no one prepares you for. The number of people you trust is fewer than 10. You have more access than anyone can comprehend, yet you have almost no one to tell. You are too deeply embedded in the system to be removed. The system would cost more to dismantle than to maintain. That isn't power. It is something quieter, colder, and more eternal than power. In a boardroom in Geneva, there is no agenda, no slide decks. You speak for about 6 minutes. The entire room hangs on every word. Then you stop, and the room moves. At the same moment, in a glass tower in a city that never sleeps, a 23-year-old opens a terminal for the first time. His name tag reads, First-Year Analyst. That tag has always said that, and it always will. He thinks this is about the salary. He thinks the system will reward what he puts in. He doesn't yet know what the system truly rewards, but he will. The terminal flashes, the market opens, and the machine takes another step forward.